So I think when we look at UFC 279, we have to look at this as a whole on every single angle. And so when I woke up this morning, there were a couple of things that instantly came to mind. And one of the first things was Tony's performance. Now, Nate had a bomb performance. I think we can all agree to that. Nate showed some things that he was extremely good at. One of those things was Tony had this habit in the fight, and he's had this habit in other fights, of turning his back, and that's a way of him kind of getting space. He's also utilized it to throw like spinning elbows and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily the most efficient way of gaining distance, but it's worked for him in the past. And so he tried it with Nate, and you can tell that it was causing Nate a bit of frustrations in the beginning. Now here's what makes Nate so good. He adjusted. He was going a lot of primary boxing, entering with his jab and his hooks. Now he was noticing that he couldn't touch Tony with the way he was turning around and being all crazy every time Nate came in. So what did Nate start to do? He started to utilize his legs, the longer weapons on the human body. And so what that does is it prevents you from being able to circle out, because Nate's throwing roundhouse kicks and front kicks. That is keeping you within a certain distance that Nate knows that he can possibly punch you. And it was working. Every time Tony got up on the cage, Nate would throw a kick, boom, and he would catch him with boxing afterwards. So that was brilliant. I also knew going into this that pace would be a huge factor. Nate's pace is always a factor in all of his competitions, and as is Tony. But I believe Tony he's lost a bit of a step in his last, couple of performances, and so has Nate, in my opinion. But we have to remember what Nate looked like towards the end of his and Leon's fight. He had Leon on stilts. And so has Nate really lost as much of a step as we believe? And so with that being said, I do believe that Tony has lost quite a bit of a step. Like I said, due to his style, it's kind of hard to maintain a style like Tony has. And as he's getting older and things of that nature, I'm just not sure he has the same snap that he used to have. And I don't know if his style is able to adapt to where the MMA fighting community is headed. And so it takes nothing away from Tony. We all know Tony is one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time, one of the most game fighters to ever grace the octagon. But at the end of the day, Father Time does catch up to us, and in fight years, for a lot of people, Father Time is a pretty fast MFer. Next, we gotta talk about Khamzat. So I think Khamzat lost either way, even based off of how the UFC moved with how Khamzat missed weight. Now, do I agree with that? No. I believe in any fighter who misses weight, their purse needs to be taken at a higher percentage. I think at the percentage that they're being taken at now, which I don't think is too, if I'm not mistaken, it's below 50%, right? And so if it's below 50%, there are some fighters who just probably don't care enough to make weight. Khamzat missed it by 8 pounds, people. Okay? He wasn't sad. He wasn't disappointed. He was not surprised in one bit. He even said that, he was going to miss weight because of doctors and things of that nature. Whatever the case may be, we know that he did not respect the weight class that he was supposed to be in for this competition. And so I don't know if anybody catched it, but the post-fight interview, I love the way Joe Rogan really tried to push the reasoning out of Khamzat for why he missed that weight. And there needs to be a better reason. Khamzat dances around the question, and this is why I say he loses no matter what. Kevin Holland didn't lose any fans. We have to remember that what happened here, people, the switcheroos and things of that nature. I don't think this affects Kevin Holland. But this does affect Khamzat. I think the UFC now has to look at him as, are you a person that can make weight at 170? Are you a person that we can trust for that kind of thing? Because once you do it once, it's kind of hard to trust a person to make it consistently. I think you guys can agree to that. And so Khamzat lost a bunch of fans for this. I think he's lost a lot of respect in the MMA community. And once that happens, you don't become as marketable as, say, you would as Colby Covington, right? Colby Covington is disliked by the MMA community for different reasons. He isn't disliked because he missed weight. He isn't disliked for anything that is directly related to the technicalities of fighting. You know, you can say what you want about his personality and the things he says, but when it comes fight time, when it comes fight night, when it comes time to weigh in, the man comes to work.